Hello, everyone, and welcome to Edge Talk Radio with Angela Zabel. That's me. And today, my host is going to be Barnaby Jones with Wisconsin C.A.P.S, or the Cryptids Anomalies and Paranormal Society. So there's a lot to unpack with this one today. So first, so people understand who I am Angela Zabel. I'm a teacher, coach, and a medium. You can find out more information on me with angelazabel.com. I'm also with Edge Magazine, and you can find more information on Edge Magazine at edgemagazine.net. So a lot to unpack. So first, I'm going to go through Barnaby's background. So Barnaby, I have you as you have a website with wisconsincaps.com, a YouTube channel, which is, let's see, Comic Wisconsin Caps. I'll have the other stuff in the information down below. You have a Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, and I have a lot wrote down, so I am going to use my notes because there's absolutely no way I can remember all of this. You are the founder and lead investigator of Cryptids Anomalies and Paranormal Society. You are a cryptozoologist, which I am going to be getting into that with later. You have the Whispers of the Dark podcast, the Monday Morning Monsters radio show, the C.A.P.S Road Trip YouTube documentary series, which is bi-monthly, a series on YouTube that you can find at Wisconsin C.A.P.S. You are part of Finding Hyden Bigfoot in the UP. You also offer the Beansnappers Public Paranormal Investigators tours in Appleton, Wisconsin. So there's just so much with you. So Barnaby, I am so thankful to have you on, and I would love for you to briefly kind of go over, like, who are you, your business, and how in the heck did you get into some of this stuff?
Well, one thing always leads to another. That's how it always starts. Yep, I am Barnaby Jones. I am the founder, lead investigator, paranormal investigator, cryptozoologist for Cryptids Anomalies and the Paranormal Society, and all that links and all that is on wisconsincaps.com. So the podcasts, the radio, all that stuff you can find at Wisconsin C.A.P.S, spelled out Wisconsin, C.A.P.S.
Yeah. Nice. So I am really curious because when I was looking up, I like to investigate a little bit on the people I'm interviewing. So as I was looking up your information, the biggest thing that came up, your specialty is cryptozoology. And it says you've been interested in animals and the paranormal and cryptozoology for as long as you remembered. And you visited multiple zoos in almost every state. So I have to ask, for the people who don't know, what the heck is cryptozoology?
Well, cryptozoology is cryptid, comes from Latin, and it is hidden. And zoology, of course, is the study of animals. So cryptozoology is the study of hidden animals. So they could be animals that once existed, like the thylacine, the Tasmanian tiger, or like the woolly mammoth. Let's see what else we got. Like the stuff like that, creatures that were thought to exist and have gone extinct. Cryptozoology is also animals that are thought to exist but have not been proven by modern day science. Things like, then you would have like the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, chupacabras, Mothman, things like that. But a lot of people don't realize is there are a lot of animals that used to be cryptids that are no longer, such as the lowland gorilla, the okapi, the platypus. All of these animals are only modernly discovered. The lowland gorilla, I believe, was 1920 or 1930 before they finally had a specimen that actually was declared a species. So
that's awesome. So I mean, I think a lot of people don't think about that, the species that have actually been found that have been like myths for so long. And so it says you went to different zoos. Did you tell the zoo people that you were there looking? What were you doing at the zoos? I mean, what was your purpose at the zoos?
Well, I am excited because I don't ever talk about this side of this. I've gone to zoos ever since I was little. Like ever since I was, old enough to go to zoos or whatever. And this has really nothing to do with cryptozoology or anything that I do, but I've always had an interest in animals. It was something my family always did, and once I started like going off on my own in that, I started going to zoos I went on this huge long road trip from Wisconsin out to California and back, and I went to zoos in every state along the way. There's only a few states, continental states, that I have not been to, and that would be down North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, that little corner of the U.S., and then Washington, Montana. I think there's one other one, maybe Idaho, up in that corner that I haven't been to. But otherwise, almost every other state, all the way up to New York and Maine, and that I've been to zoos in almost every state along there, just because each zoo, people always say like they're all the same. Why do you got to go to more than one? Because they all have the same giraffes, elephants, whatever. But you'd be surprised if you actually get into it. There are a lot of zoos that each zoo has one specific animal that you can't find at any other zoo. And that's what makes it really interesting. Like for right now, I would really like to go out to San Diego Zoo, because San Diego Zoo is the only zoo outside of Australia to exhibit platypuses.
Really?
So there's no other zoo in the US that has them, and San Diego got them a couple years ago, right before COVID. And I wasn't able to go out and see them, but they have a pair of platypuses at the San Diego Zoo. So, yeah.
I think that's awesome. And especially with what you're doing, you're looking for things that may not exist, as people say, but to find the similarities between things that they've found here that existed in our world that we had no clue on, and to kind of see. So are you kind of looking like how they operate, how they move, is there something you're specifically looking for in the zoos also with the animals you're doing there that deals with what you do now?
Right. Yeah. So when we started C.A.P.S, obviously it was 2019, late 2019. And right after that in 2020 is when COVID hit. And so I haven't had the chance up until this year really to get back out there to a lot of the zoos, because there was just so much stuff going on in that with restrictions and time tickets, and that's a lot of work for me.
Yeah. I
Uh,
understand that.
but yeah, now that we're able to get back to zoos, I've been able to speak to some of the keepers and stuff, because I do everything. I mean, like I said, I do paranormal, I do UFOs, Bigfoot, every cryptid. But the most common one that you can like pretty much sink your teeth into is Bigfoot. And it's for me, it's no longer a question of if it exists, but now it's how do they exist. I'm 100% convinced that they are out there. I've had too many experiences that I don't know what else it could be. Obviously we've talked about I've been to every zoo. I know animals, I know behaviors and stuff like that. And there's nothing out there that could possibly be what I've experienced other than a Bigfoot. So now I've been actually talking to elephant keepers, because elephants, along with tigers and a couple other animals, are known to actually emit infrasound, which is a very low vibrational frequency of sound. Elephants use it to communicate over great distances because this low vibrational sound travels. Well, one of the theories in Bigfoot is that they use this infrasound to kind of dehabilitate their prey, so that they can, attack them and get a hold of them or stuff. And they may use it on humans as kind of a stay away from me method. So a lot of people report feeling sick, disoriented, woozy, dizzy and stuff, throw up around Bigfoot. So what I've been doing is I've been talking to elephant keepers, because the elephants are known to use infrasound. So I want to know if this infrasound is being used by the elephants, if the keepers are feeling the same kind of disorientation, wooziness and stuff that the other ones are supposed to be able to feel. And I haven't had a chance to talk to any tiger keepers, because if you don't, when you go to a zoo, the keepers aren't just standing by the exhibit waiting to talk to you. So you got to track them down. But elephant keepers, I've had a pretty good run of the Milwaukee Zoo here in Wisconsin. The keeper was actually out there giving one a bath one day, and they were feeding them at one of the other zoos I was just at. So I got to talk to a couple of them, but yeah.
That's, that's really cool how you're making that connection and finding out more information on that. And I'm kind of curious because you have so much equipment. I've witnessed some of the equipment you have, and it's like super crazy. I'm like,
Mhm.
it would make any tech person cry.
And you didn't even get to see a lot of our Bigfooting stuff. You just got to see our normal paranormal weird stuff.
And your paranormal stuff just is like, there's so much, and how you keep track of it, I have no idea. But man,
Mhm.
it's crazy. I'm wondering if you were able to maybe talk to them about maybe using some of your equipment to record some of the noises from the elephant at all, if that's something you're looking at doing going forward.
I have actually. I have recorded infrasound on elephants. On my phone, I actually have an app that detects infrasound. And now, obviously, you're out at a zoo. A lot of them, bigger cities have zoos. They're by airports. Airports have, the jets and stuff flying over. And actually, when we were in Milwaukee, there was a jet that flew over during, when we were by the elephants and stuff. So it's hard to tell for sure. But I have recorded infrasound frequencies near elephants. So
That's
whether or not, and that doesn't mean that, like obviously if they're not actively communicating or actively using the infrasound, it's not like they're emitting it all the time. So it could just be ambient infrasound because I mean there's a lot of things that produce that levels, but it's kind of interesting for anybody that is more interested in infrasound. You can go on YouTube and you can search infrasound and get a good pair of headsets and you can listen to infrasound. You won't be able to hear it at all.
oh
It'll just sound like nothing, like white noise air. But see how long you can listen to it before you start to feel sick. And then
oh
take your headphones off and then listen to like more like happy music or like binaural beats or better tones, like meditation and stuff, and feel your energy raise back up. It's a pretty neat experiment. We've done it with a few members of my team to see how it interacts with us so that we know how it interacts out in the field. But yeah, you can definitely go on YouTube and obviously like infrasound is too low for us to hear, but you can experience it if that makes sense. So
kind of like resonating through you, kind of like a dog whistle. You don't hear it, the dogs hear it, but there's also a resonance that people feel a lot of times, even with music, but you don't really quite know what it is. So yeah,
mhm.
that makes perfect sense. I'm actually going to try that next time.
Well, be
Sounds pretty
careful because
cool.
it does make you sick.
Well, I'll go back to meditation after that.
Okay, good. Definitely recommend that. Yeah.
So you investigate a lot of different things.
Mm.
I'm curious, like when you talk about cryptids, can you kind of go into what cryptid is, or is it because you kind of, I think, touched on it with the zoology part, but can you kind of go into what cryptid actually is?
Yeah. So you want to like different cryptids or
Yeah, give some examples of some different cryptids so people
sure.
kind of understand what they are.
So there's a lot. I mean, there's books and books and books written on these. Lauren Coleman has a great book, Cryptozoology A to Z, and it's basically an encyclopedia. It was my first cryptozoology book, and it literally has every single cryptid that you could think of, and there are even more. I mean, for every continent on the U.S., there's cryptids. Well, some of my favorites, the we'll start here. Mapinguari is a giant, like ground sloth creature. It could be a Bigfoot. It could be a living ground sloth, which were these 8 to 10 feet tall, um, kind of like a sloth, but more on its hind legs, beastie creatures. And we know that these existed, but they're still supposedly seen down in like the Amazon and South America area. You also have I'm blanking on the name right now. That's why I went to the other one. Um,
Am I throwing you off kilter?
Mokele Emembe. I'm not awake yet. I'll be honest.
I
Mo-
understand.
Mokele Emembe is a giant sauropod or dinosaur, long neck creature seen in the Congo River basin in Africa. And these things, again, are a creature that is thought to exist. Well, we know, again, that they existed. We have skeletal remains of these things. But
Right.
in the Congo River Basin, they actually could still exist. The natives over there have seen these things for as long as they can remember, and they describe them as a sauropod dinosaur, a long neck, swamp dwelling, water monster creature. The name Mokele Membe literally means the one who stops the river. So it's a giant creature, bigger than an elephant. And they've
Wow.
taken pictures over there of elephants and dinosaurs and other things and shown them to the natives, and they said, what is this? And they always point at the dinosaur. And we have to take that with, consideration, being that these people are out there 24/7 every day. They live there, they hunt there, they know the animals out there. If this thing was, just an elephant or a hippo or something else, they'd know. When they're saying this is an elephant, yeah, we know they're over there. This thing is that way, you know.
Right.
So when you have these things, you have to take that with a little bit of credit, I mean, there's tons. There's some that are more considered like paranormal than cryptid. And the reason for that is we don't have the fossil record. We
Yeah.
don't have something that we can point back and say, well, it existed, so it possibly could exist. And when you look at those, you have like the dogman or werewolf type creatures. These giant canines that walk upright. They're in packs. They have family units, and these things have been sighted all over the world, not just in the United States. We have them in Wisconsin. For those familiar, we have the Beast of Bray Road, which is
Mhm.
down in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, Bray Road down there. And this thing has been seen all the way through the 90s up until present day. The Michigan Dogman as well is another hotspot area where these things have been seen. Over in London, the famous reports, of the werewolves. You have a lot of stories coming out of there. And even I find this one fascinating. During World War II and stuff with Hitler, he actually was supposed to be breeding werewolves. And a lot of the prisoners of the concentration camps actually said that these things would prowl around and like guard the concentration camps. And that's in like some of the history books and stuff. I mean, he was into all kinds of weird, I mean, UFOs and paranormal and the crystal skulls and all that stuff. So this is just one more pin in that map over there of weirdness. And then you have things like the Mothman.
Mm.
Mothman, everyone's familiar with Point Pleasant and the Silver Bridge collapse, John Keel's work over there. But there's also been a lot of recent sightings in the Chicago area of the Mothman type
Yeah.
creature. And if you take away the name Mothman and you look at the characteristics of the body, the wings, stuff like that, these creatures are seen all over the world as well. And they just have different names. So you have the Ahul, sorry, which is a giant owl. You have, the bat creatures, the giant owls. You have all these things on our website. I have all these names that you can look up of these creatures that are all very similar. From all over the world. You have same descriptions of these animals, same as Sasquatch. You have, Sasquatch, Yeti, Orang Pendek, Yowie, Yaren, Grassman, Swamp Man, Skunk Ape. Depending what part of the world, what part of the country, back in the day, you didn't have the internet. You didn't have even a lot of books on these things. So when
Right.
people are seeing something, they're literally just calling it what they see. And a lot of these, have like wild man or hairy man as when you translate it over to English, a lot of the native tribes and stuff, they all translate the same to this wild man, hairy man creature. And that's all over the world you have these things. So
I think that's cool that you bring up that a lot of these that people are looking for in the paranormal aspect and in the cryptid aspect, they're a lot of the same similarities all around the world. But of course, they're going to call it what is familiar to them in their language. So of course, it's going to have different names. So you kind of look at how much is really out there and how much we're really not paying attention to a lot of times. And I love the fact that you're taking the time to pay attention to all of those little hints and little idiosyncrasies that are out there for people. And that kind of brings me up, like, what's the most common way you are approached to do investigating? How are people reaching out to you, and what kind of things are they asking you to investigate?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, anybody that has seen anything, UFO, Bigfoot, paranormal, you can go to our website, Wisconsin, spelled out C.A.P.S, wisconsincaps.com, and right on the homepage it says report your sighting. You can go in there and click, you can remain anonymous. You don't have to fill out any name or anything, and send us a report of what you've seen, because all of our research, Bigfoot, paranormal, UFO, you name it, we can't do any of that if nobody tells us where to look. So it's very important, and even people think that, if you don't put your name on it, it's not going to be believed. But at this point, especially with Bigfoot stuff, if you put your report out there for us and give us a good report, tell us everything that happened, whatever, and it falls somewhere where we know stuff is, I mean, that's huge. We know where things are happening, we know where things aren't happening, and the credibility is fine. I mean, like, we're not going to share your information without your permission. We're not going to put your name out there in that. But it is so important for us, especially now that hunting season's coming up here, towards the end of the year, and that if you're out there in the woods, you're the people that we need to talk to. And anybody that can, get yourself a dash cam too, because over 50% of Bigfoot sightings are road crossings. They're not hunters out in the woods. They're
Oh,
not
wow.
people that are out looking for Bigfoot. It's something just runs across the road. So it is so important, if you can afford it. I mean, even $30, you can go out and get yourself a cheap dash cam. You can get a really nice one too for, under $200. But yeah, if you can get a dash cam, get that thing out there, because that's going to help a lot. But what are we getting? We're getting a lot of reports out of certain areas of Wisconsin. And over the last 2 years, they seem to all fall. If you take Lake Tomahawk, Wisconsin, down to Anago, Wisconsin, and you just took a fat tipped marker and drew a line across the state, that's where we're getting them. Rhinelander, Mountain,
Wow.
Anago, that whole swatch of the state right there, we're getting a lot of reports out of. And it could be because that's where we've done a lot of work too, but obviously that's where they are. So, and then southern Wisconsin, way down by Iowa, we're getting a lot of reports out of that corner, southwestern Wisconsin, way down in that little corner down there. As far as Bigfoot, Dogman stuff is kind of like middle central of the state. And we're getting a lot of, I mean, I get reports from Tennessee and Kentucky and stuff because we've gone down there. Missouri, we get them all over. I mean, like, the primary places that we investigate though are Wisconsin, just because we're so close, and that's where we are. But I've now investigated Bigfoot in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa, Colorado, Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Pennsylvania. I've gone quite a bit. So, but we get a lot of other stuff too. Reports of portals. Just this huge, like, driving down the road, and this like hole opens up, and they're driving at night, and they can see daylight ahead of them, and they're like, what the heck is this? And I've gotten a personal report of that once, and I've heard reports from other people probably 3-4 other times of these reports of these things, just weird doorways to another area, time, something. UFOs, we've gotten a lot of reports of those, lights in the sky, ships. Again, all over Wisconsin. We again primarily focus on Wisconsin, but if we're in another area traveling for a convention or something, we go and check out whatever.
Oh, yeah, it'd be fun to go check out a new area for
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Yep. I just got back a little while ago from a 12-day trip down through to St. Louis for some paranormal stuff, and then I went bigfooting in Missouri, and then up through Colorado to bigfooting there, and then out to Utah, and I got a chance to
Wow.
do an investigation legally on the property next to Skinwalker Ranch.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's
That
pretty
was
cool.
very cool, very cool. So, yeah, you guys, I'll give them a quick plug here. The um, UFO Valley Campground owns the property and leases the mesa from the neighbors there. And they do UTV tours and they have a campsite up there. And they're phenomenal people. And they let me come out and after the UTV tour, I got to go back one of the nights that I was in Utah for a conference and actually set up all of our equipment and do a stakeout on the looking out at the mesa of Skinwalker Ranch. So that'll be on our episodes coming
Holy,
up. So
that would be pretty cool. That would.
yeah.
And how did you fly out there or drive? Because you got a heck of a lot
I
of
drove.
equipment. Oh, okay.
I
I was
drove.
gonna say,
Yeah,
I don't know how
remember
you.
St. Louis to Missouri to Colorado to
I
12
was like,
days.
I don't know how you get all your equipment on a plane.
I haven't figured that out legally yet either. I'm not sure all. I've never flown, so I don't know the legalities of carrying some of the equipment that I have. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good point. So when you like, is there like a theme for the year or a theme for an area that seems to be like there's a lot of reports of certain things? Are you noticing a theme for different aspects, or is it pretty much just all over the board?
No, not really like a year to year theme. For the areas that we do have activity for talking like Bigfoot or like the cryptid creatures, it seems like they have a pretty set area where they live. Now any large animal needs a lot of food, so it has a wide area that it's going to roam. Like even cougars and bears and stuff do. But the general thought is anywhere that you can find bears, you're gonna find Bigfoot,
Oh,
or vice versa, because they're both gonna be omnivores. They're both gonna eat the same type of foods and stuff. And again, your bears are only so big. So when you look at like adaptations and the natural environment and stuff, so here's a bear and it's eating all your low level foods, your berries and stuff like that. But they aren't going to be able to reach up in the trees and get your apples and your fruits and stuff like that, and your other things that are up there. So the same way that giraffes have adapted to eat higher in Africa as the other animals in the antelope species, you have these Bigfoot that they're 8 to 10 feet tall, and they're going to be able to eat and consume foods that other animals can't reach. So you have this ability for them to survive and thrive in areas where other large omnivorous predators and things live.
you make a good point about how things, change and adapt. And then also how a lot of people don't even realize what animals are around them. So just an example where I'm at, I mean, I've seen bear and I've seen badger here, but if you talk to most of the people in the area, probably about 95% of them have never experienced those animals ever. And so you kind of look at, they're there, but yet most people don't see them. What else is out there? What else is there? And I think it makes people trying to maybe look a little different or look at their world a little bit different. Is that kind of what you found too?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'll give you a good example. Up at the Hyden Adventure, there's always trail cameras out on the property. It's a private property, 80 acres, Upper Michigan, and they were actually featured on Finding Bigfoot, hence our Finding Hyden episodes. That's what we call it. But they have bear on the property. We know this for a fact. They have them on pictures, and we have trail camera pictures where my team has been on the camera, and 15 minutes later, a bear is on that same camera. Yet
Wow.
no one on my team has seen a bear on the property with their eyes. Never seen one. But we know that within 15 minutes of us being in a location, they were there. So we had to be right near them. We have to be by these bears on, like a weekly basis up there or whatever. Never seen them. Now, granted, we do know that the property owner lives on the property at the front half of it, and we're usually in the back 40 of the property. So she has them up in her yard when we're there. So we know that they're there, and she sees them because she's there all the time. But we've no one on our team, just as an example to say, you know, we know they're there. We've never seen a bear. So that's how close you can be to these things and never come near them.
And bear have a specific smell about them too.
Oh, yeah.
And it's surprising, you know, how much is out there, but we don't actually experience it. So that's a good way to look at it for people to kind of think a little bit bigger about what's around them. And one of the things I've got on here is you actually have a map on your website. I was looking at it. You have sighting maps for Mothman and Bigfoot. And I was just like looking at that map and going, wow, there's a lot of information on there. And like you had said, you need the people to call or to put information on your website, because you can't be everywhere. You just can't. But I would really encourage people to go check that out. And then, like you said, to keep putting information on your website so they can get that you can continue to keep adding to that information on there. And then, so I've had the personal experience of you. Actually, we did some UFO viewing together, which was a lot of fun.
Yep. That'll be on an episode next year. So, yep.
And there's something that I was curious. So you used a lot of different equipment for somebody who's just starting out, just wanting to explore different things. Is there some equipment you would recommend to them just as starter basic equipment?
Well, I'll tell you. Okay, for basic stuff, I would get a good audio recorder. For anything paranormal or even Bigfooting, and run it constantly. It costs you nothing to delete footage. A GoPro, I would highly recommend that. There's a side panel on GoPros. If you take that off, pull out the battery, you can take a battery pack, like an external battery, and plug it directly in. You can run a GoPro on a GoPro battery about an hour. You can run a GoPro for 10, 12 hours off of a external rechargeable battery. Wow. And put that thing on your head, put the battery pack in your back pocket. That's what we do, because you will not miss anything. You have audio, you have good audio quality, you have good video quality, and it's there. You don't have to worry about it. It's on your head. Wherever you look is where you're seeing it. You can put it on your chest, your shoulder, anywhere you want. These mounts, and you'll not miss anything. They're waterproof too. You can leave these things outside if you're out camping or something. You can put it outside your tent and let this thing run all night. So that would be my first. I mean, anytime we go anywhere, that GoPro is on before we get out of the car.
Wow.
Because you never know what's going to happen. And all these people are like, oh, we got there. I got out of the car. I was setting stuff up. And here's a good example. We went down to do a paranormal investigation at Portal 31, which is a cave, not a cave, a mine, a coal mine in Kentucky. And we got there, pulled up, and the dash cam turns off. We got out of the car, and Ma was looking out at the road and saw a Bigfoot cross the road.
Wow.
And none of our cameras got it on video because nothing was running at that time. Because we were there setting up stuff to go. We were just doing like B-roll footage of the area and stuff. So it wasn't that important. It was right away in the morning. It was like 7, 8 a.m. And we weren't even going to be doing the coal mine until like 5 o'clock that afternoon. And we were just there to shoot some random footage. And we did not, we have the footage of it driving up on the dash cam, and I've gone over that whole footage. Nothing's there. It doesn't, no bushes move, nothing in the footage. And yet a couple minutes later, there it is, walks across the road. And we actually went over there, found a footprint. So we pretty sure that's what it was. So, but
no,
yeah.
It's kind of funny you mentioned about how nothing works. So do you also come into times where your equipment fails, the energy kind of makes everything go a little wonky on you and kind of changes everything up? And have you experienced that other times?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's Murphy's Law because Murphy is a Sasquatch, according to Cliff Barrickman from Finding Bigfoot. He has a life-size replica of a Bigfoot in his museum, and its name is Murphy because Murphy's Law is if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. So he figures Murphy has to be a Sasquatch. But I mean anything. I mean paranormal. Oh, here's a good example. Last night I was actually out and my phone, I leaned across this bar to show somebody a video, and my phone just started going all haywire and opening things and doing stuff. And there's a plasma ball on the table. You know, one of those you put your finger on and the light, zaps to it. And we found out that this thing interacts with your cell phones and can cause them to flip out. So now I deep dived into like researching these plasma balls and everything because going back to Skinwalker Ranch, there's been numerous times on the property where people will have their phones out and it starts opening their phone, making phone calls, doing this, pressing buttons, going through all this stuff. And that's what was happening on my phone. So here is this plasma ball that's putting out high EMF, high electromagnetic field energy, and it's causing that type of reaction that they're experiencing at Skinwalker Ranch. So it's a really interesting example in a closed area. Like obviously this wasn't paranormal, this was a plasma ball. But at Skinwalker Ranch, you don't have those plasma balls, but something is creating that same effect that's causing this. So you have this high electromagnetic energy field, this whole thing, and it was really, really interesting to be able to put those two phenomenon together and go, this is happening for a big scale where they are, and that's cool. I don't remember your question.
I don't either.
Yeah. Oh, how does it affect our equipment?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that was it. I got there. I answered the question. It wasn't the way that you thought, but
it all worked out.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of equipment failures when things are around. One of our episodes on YouTube is Finding Hyden. The episode is called Amber Eyes. And we go out on the Hyden property, and there's me and Luke, and I have a GoPro on my head and a thermal imaging camera on my phone. Luke had a night vision camera on his chest and a thermal imaging camera. His thermal imaging camera, the battery dies. And so right after that happened, we're walking along and we see off the trail this pair of two amber eyes staring at us. And we can see this thing on my thermal. We're picking it up. It's a heat signature. It's an animal. We're looking at it. And his thermal's dead, so he can't record this. Unbeknownst to us at the time, the camera on my head died. So it turned off. It's not recording. His night vision camera that he's wearing on his chest, he's standing behind me looking over my shoulder at my thermal. So I'm standing in front of his camera. So we have this amazing experience with this creature, and we still don't know what this thing was. I mean, I could tell you it could have been a deer. It really could have. It did not move and it did not act like a deer. And its behavior just was weird. And it made to the point of Bigfoot type activity, because while we're staring ahead of us, off to the left of us, something else moves in the woods. So now, as soon as we're like, well, we're not going to look away from this thing, but this thing over to the left is getting closer to us. So we have to,
Wow.
address what is coming towards us over here. So we turn and look over there, we come back, it's gone. Now, luckily,
Yeah.
the Hyden Adventure is a hunting property and there's shooting lanes all the way along it. And whatever it was had moved about 20 to 30 degrees over and was walking in another shooting lane now. So we picked it back up there where it stopped and looked at us again. Now, if this is a deer, why is it stopping? Why is it staring back at us? Because we're not shining light at it. We're just there. It was just very weird. But so ever since then, whenever we do like night hikes like that, we have 4 cameras running. So we each carry a GoPro and a night vision on each of us. So we have this redundancy of 4 cameras videotaping at all times. Because like I said, you can always delete stuff, but you're never going to get back that footage that you would have had if you would have had those cameras. So.
And that's really hard. I mean, I've experienced different things where, energy knocks stuff out. I mean, it happens. It happens quite a bit. And that's something that I don't think people realize so much when you're trying to get footage of a lot of this stuff. You're experiencing it, but they're not going to let you put that experience on video, on audio, and do things like that. And it's kind of crazy because there's a reason they've been hidden a long time. It's not just the basic. Did you have any noises when you were out there when you experienced that last night or no?
Last night.
Or not last night, the one you were just talking about, sorry.
Amber eyes?
Yeah, amber eyes, yes.
We had owls out that night. Some of it, like sometimes an owl's an owl, sometimes it's not. When you have the what do they call them? The 400-pound owls that are out in the woods. And yeah. But other than that, like I said, we heard something moving to our left, and it was getting close enough that it was going to be dangerous to us if it was something. And so we turned and looked over there with the thermal, didn't find anything, went back. And here's another thing is, a couple weeks after that happened, we went into, it's a very swampy, they call it the island at the Hyden Adventure. And we went in there, and that's its whole other episode. I think it's On the Right Track is the episode. And I went in there and actually found footprints in the marsh, in the mud. And that's actually the one that we actually ended up casting, was back in that area. And that would have been right where the noises came the night that we found the amber eyes. So.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I've been outside in the dark with like deer and stuff. And usually if you interrupt the deer, they're snorting at you like crazy and blowing like crazy. So you kind of know, like, yeah, that's probably a deer. You can tell the difference. And with you, I know you've been out there a lot. So it's like, yeah, it's not a deer, it's something different. Absolutely. So when you've been out there doing some of these investigations, has there ever been something where it's been like really kind of scared you, put the fear into you about where you're at or what's going on? And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. We've done, I've had a couple experiences. I'm gonna focus back on Hyden Adventure because we've done more investigating out there than anywhere else. But we were walking back on the property. There's a pond kind of in the back, and back behind this pond is where we kind of believe these things hang out and they watch us. There's a big like mowed field where we sit and like kind of have our base camp and stuff. They used to do tours up there of the property and all the evidence and that, so that's where we set up base camp. But back behind the pond, we'd walk back there. This is what we ended up doing. We'd have like 2 people sit at base camp, and then 2 people would walk back behind the pond and wait for it to get weird, creepy and stuff, and then walk back past base camp, and whatever was back there would follow us. And then the people at base camp would get to experience whatever came past and hopefully get the evidence and the video and all that. And this has worked very well for us several times. Excuse me. So one night I went back there, and you could literally feel the ground shake and vibrate from something huge walking.
Wow.
And I've been growled at by these things. I've been snorted at. And again, never seen anything, but it had to have been so close. One of the first investigations C.A.P.S ever did down in Burlington, we had just come out of this wood line and we're looking out at this power line cut, and something just guttural demonic growled at us from the woods, not 15 feet away.
Wow.
And there was nothing there. Couldn't find it. When I actually, this is where I got, some pretty big stones. I took my thermal and I walked right back into the woods looking for this thing. I'm like, if you're gonna growl at me, we're gonna have some words, buddy. So I went right back in, and I waited a few minutes, don't get me wrong, but I did go back in, and I couldn't find nothing. I did not find anything on thermal, but I mean, these things, they live out there, if somebody broke into your house, you'd know where to hide, where to move, how to get through your house, where the burglar does not, and when we're going out into the woods, they live there. This is their home. They spend every minute of every day out there. You gotta bet that these things can outmaneuver, outmove, outhide you. We got one on thermal down in Burlington, Wisconsin.
Wow.
And it was standing half behind a tree, and we went back during the day. This was at night, so we couldn't see it. We shined light on it, didn't see it, whatever, but you could see it on thermal moving back and forth and stuff. And we went back during the day and did a reenactment of this thing, and it had to be within 10 feet of us.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was pretty intense too. So I can honestly say that, my personal experience, I've been really close to these things, and but I've never seen one. I've never seen one with my eyes, only thermal. So.
Oh. And it's kind of crazy how even though you've been really close to them, it's like they haven't like physically attacked you for that matter.
Right.
It's just you observing where they are in the wilderness and observing them in their territory, and not so much of them coming at you. So I think that's something for people to understand, that all the times you've been out, and I know you've been out a lot, that the experiences you've had is more of them observing you and maybe trying to figure out what the heck you're doing out here with them. And
I have had things thrown at me though.
okay.
Up in Rhinelander, we've had big rocks thrown at us across a river.
Wow.
So that was pretty intense. And I've had smaller things like maybe acorns or small stones thrown at me on several occasions, especially down in the Burlington Woods area. We've had a lot of experiences where acorns or small objects have been thrown at us.
So what do you do in those situations? You just kind of like back off, or you actually go in further, or do you give them a little space? What's your reaction to it?
I think it's more observational. I think on almost all the times that this has happened, we're not really sure if stuff's falling from the trees, which I don't think so, because you can hear it like come across. It's not
Right.
falling down. You can hear it coming.
Unless you got a squirrel with a really good arm.
Yeah, nasty raccoon. But yeah, we don't really go towards stuff. For the most part, a lot of our investigations is more just observe and document. You don't want to, I mean, whatever these things are, you don't want to try and go after them. And, if they're already agitated, that's when you're going to have problems.
Right.
Anytime that you do hear of like any of these like aggression and stuff, they've been shot at. So, if you're going out there and you see something, you overreact, you shoot at it, well, that's when you're going to start having problems. It's
Right.
very clear that these things know what a gun is. And it's possible that they mistake like cameras and stuff for weapons as well, and that's why they don't like those, because anything you're holding up to your eye or your face to get a picture, you're holding up a gun in the same way. So, they don't maybe understand the difference between those two things, and that's why they don't really, like that either.
And I can understand that. I mean, if you're in your own area and somebody comes in, you'd be a little wary of what's coming at you.
Yep.
So are you finding that there's actually been more activity going forward now than maybe when you first started, or is it about the same, or do you think more is increasing in sightings or anything?
I think a lot more people are coming forward because it's just less taboo now. There's so many shows on TV. There's so many, UFOs are all over in official government documents and stuff now, and the congressional hearings and that it's becoming less of a psycho ward, like if you tell me you saw a Bigfoot, I'm gonna, lock you up and call you crazy. It's becoming more mainstream to be able to say I've had an experience and not be thought of as crazy or something. So more people are willing to come forward. But even, this is the typical response that I get whenever I tell somebody on the street, like, well, what do you do? What'd you do this past weekend? Well, I went out looking for Bigfoot. Oh, you believe in Bigfoot? That's a load of crap. Oh, okay, But this one time I was in my house and this clock flew off the wall because this ghost took it. Okay, so you believe in ghosts, but you don't believe in Bigfoot. And then vice versa. You tell people that you believe in paranormal, you believe in all that crap. That's nothing. You die, you're gone. But this one time I saw this bear on its hind legs, and he was 10 feet tall. I don't know, it was the biggest damn bear I ever saw. And okay, yeah, you saw a bear. Okay, but I don't think that was a bear. But we can have this discussion. I love this. I went and got to see John E.L. Tenney speak at the Michigan Paracon, and he started off his lectures. If anybody else hasn't looked up John E.L. Tenney, look him up. Amazing, professional weirdo. That's what he calls himself, professional weirdo. And he starts off his lecture and he goes, "How many people here believe in ghosts?" And probably like 75% of the audience raises their hand. All right, cool. How many people believe in aliens? All right, about 60% of the audience raises their hands. How many people here believe in Bigfoot? About like 25% of the people raise their hands. All right, how many people believe in goblins and this and this and this? And okay. And he goes, now let's think about this. There's more people out there that believe in extra dimensional life or aliens than believe that there's a species of animal that exists on this planet that we haven't discovered yet. And I'm like,
That
yeah.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. And I mean, there are new species of animals and big animals being discovered. It was just a couple years ago, there was a whole new species of elephant that was discovered. It's a small Asian forest elephant. And, like everybody sees like these elephants roaming around on the savannas and stuff, and you don't think about it. But there's an entire species of forest elephant. They're smaller, they live in the forest, and they're just very hard to find because they move so stealthily through these, trees and stuff. And for hunters that go out on normal like public hunting land and stuff, I mean, there's trails, we'll say it's pretty easy going. There's been some places that I've gone in where you can't see off the trail more than 5 feet without it just being thick. And to say that there's something out there that, 10 feet tall that we don't know exists and you're not going to believe that. Oh, come on, man. There's been people that have lived in the woods for years, like, what was it? A couple 100 feet from a guy's house. This guy built this lean-to tent and lived out, I think it was by a campground or something. And he would just go steal stuff from the campground and food and stuff and lived out there for like 20, 30 years or something. And nobody even knew he was there until he made a mistake and like wandered off and somebody found him, so. Yeah.
I remember that. And and I remember about the Asian elephants being found and about the guy who was sitting there. And it's like, people don't realize, especially when you get on into some of these woods and that, you really can't see very far in front of you. You have no idea what's really there. It's really kind of crazy.
Go out at night and walk through one of these woods, even with a thermal, and your thermal can't penetrate that. It's a scary experience.
Oh, I can imagine. And for me, I'm a medium and I connect with a lot of different, people that are dead with the ghosts and stuff. And there's so much out there. Once you start connecting into that, there's so much available and so much that's there. It would kind of blow people's minds. So for me, I look at all this as like, if you don't think it's real, you're kind of crazy in my mind, because there's a lot out there people don't realize
Turn
is
it around
there.
on them. You don't believe in ghosts? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, what's
Oh
wrong
my
with
God.
you? They're so much
You're
fun.
crazy.
Those are the crazy people.
I'm going to do that to people from now on. You don't believe in Bigfoot? What's wrong with you?
Where
Jesus.
are you
Oh
coming
my
from?
God. Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, so for me, I think it's great for people to understand there's more out there. And what you do, I think, is great for people to look into, to kind of expand your mind and look at the world around you differently. Because you talk about interdimensional and you talk about, the ETs, the UFOs, all this kind of stuff. And those things pop in and out. So kind of think of some of these other things that may be around you might be popping in and out too. So to know that stuff's out there, keep an eye out for it and keep coming into your field and putting that information when you see something to get it on your site so more people can understand where it's coming from. And I know we're getting really close on time here, but I wanted to just ask you, for yourself, has there been societal challenges for you with societal aspects and in expectations, like when you talk to people, are you're it sounds like you're getting more and more people that are being a little more open to it, and what kind of challenges have you encountered along the way?
A lot of people, like I said, are just afraid to talk about it. They don't want to be considered, they don't want the ridicule. People always say, like, if there's so many Bigfoot out there, why aren't there more pictures? Well, there are. There are a
Right.
lot more pictures and a lot more video out there. And the problem is your grandpa who has, this, 1 minute long video of Bigfoot clearly standing outside his window waving at him, you know, he's never gonna let that out
Right.
because they don't want those people coming on their property looking for Bigfoot. They don't want to be considered the Bigfoot guy. They don't want that. A lot of these witnesses that do come forward with the amazing stories do not want their name out there. And it's not because they're lying or skeptical or anything like that. It's because they don't want that attention. If you own, property up in, upper Wisconsin or something or anywhere, and you have Bigfoot on your property every day, every night, do you want people out there looking for him? No, you don't. So you're not going
Right.
to tell somebody that it's there. I think, like even, a lot of the other people in the field said, once this becomes Bigfoot is real, Bigfoot exists, they're out there, you're going to see a lot more evidence pop up because it's going to be, yeah, I have video of them, I have pictures, and you're going to see all that evidence. So,
Awesome. And I'm looking forward to it. I know it's coming, and I know you do too. So I just wanted to do a quick rundown of by the time this comes out, we have upcoming events. It'll be March 4th, the Frogman Festival in Mason, Ohio, April 22nd, Spirits in the Spring at Paracon at Broadhead, Wisconsin, April 29th, East Tennessee Paracon in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, May 6th, the Ohio Bigfoot Conference in Salt Fork, Ohio, June 3rd, the Monster Fest in Canton, Ohio, and June 9th and 10th in Marinette, Menominee, Bigfoot and Paranormal Convention. And full disclosure, I am going to be the gallery speaker there doing mediumship readings and doing a talk on connection to all that's out there. So
can't
I am
wait.
really excited for that. It's going to be so much fun. And I did meet you in Janesville at a paranormal expo, and I had so much fun with you. I loved your energy, loved talking with you, and then found out that we're really not that far away from each
Yeah,
other. It was
yeah.
kind of crazy. And so
Small
with that,
world.
I encourage people to go to his website, wisconsincaps.com, check out his information, and I'll have more of that information down below. Is there anything you'd like to add at the end of here before we close out?
Yeah, I don't know. I always, people ask me that, and I want to say that, I've had the opportunity to come into this and, this whole world of paranormal and the whole world of Bigfoot and stuff. And it is, I'll put it this way. The If you go out in the woods, you go to a haunted house and you go there to look for a ghost or you go there to look for Bigfoot, you're going to have a shitty time. You go there and you go to hang out with people and, spend time with your team, your fellow people, and, just hang out and have a good time. you're always going to have a good time. You know, we spend so much time trying to communicate with the people that have crossed over that we do not communicate with the people that we're with right now. And a lot of the paranormal people say that. I mean, Dustin Perry, amazing guy, gives an amazing presentation as well on, you know, just amazing guy. If you get a chance, check out Dustin Perry's, any of his work. But I want to shout him out and say, you know, there's been so many amazing people that have opened up their houses and stories and everything to myself and my team, all over. I wanted to do some Bigfooting down in southern Missouri recently, and this amazing guy, Bill, opened up his house, his whole property to me and said, come on out and do it. So
Wow.
it's just been, you know, like, there's phenomenal people out there if you reach out and communicate with them. And, you know, I just want to give a shout out to everybody that's worked with us, and I appreciate all of you. So, and yourself, you even opened up your whole property to us and had us come out, and great time. And yep, so that'll be out next year. Our
Nice.
UFOs in Wisconsin episode will be on documentary, and we'll put that information when it comes out on our YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff. So
I'm excited about that. It was a lot of fun. And I know for you, you also have a group, and I'm trying to look at my notes that you do, that you get people together and learn how to do. And you have so many different people on that group. And, you know, for people to kind of look you up and find out that information.
We do have, we have C.A.P.S Tech. They're older episodes now, but on our YouTube, if you look up Wisconsin C.A.P.S on our YouTube and find the C.A.P.S Tech videos, it shows you a lot of our equipment and how to use it and how it interacts with the other equipment and stuff. And we do also do C.A.P.S Academy, which when we get a group of people together and we do training. So we do everything from Bigfoot to paranormal and all the equipment and all the stuff, theory and history of things, like the history of Bigfoot and that stuff. We offer those about like once a year, and we don't have one running right now. So if you go to our website and click on meet the team, and at the bottom it says join the team, or I think there might even be a C.A.P.S Academy link on our page directly. Fill out the information, and when we run the next one, we'll let you guys know. So
awesome. I love that. I love the sharing information. And for me, I encourage everybody, check out his website, check out Barnaby Jones. There's so much more I could cover. I think I'd have to do another episode with you because there's so much more to cover. I haven't even covered some of the other stuff I wanted to hit. So we're going to done, you know, if you're up for it, we're up for another episode.
oh, definitely. Just let me know.
Awesome.
I could talk the rest of the day if I didn't have to go to work.
So could I. Yeah. So I just wanted to thank you for your time. I appreciate you greatly, and I can't wait for this to come out and for people to hear more about you and what you do. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I appreciate the opportunity to be on the show and share all the knowledge, and thank you for getting our name out.